Albert Einstein said, "At the midst of difficulties lies opportunities." And in this week Torah portion of Masei, it's a journeys, it's a lot of difficulties, but also an opportunities. There are 42 journeys in this Parsha.
So what exactly is the significance of the 42 different stages that the Parsha talks that the Israelites went through from the liberation from Egypt up until the point where they're about to enter Canaan?
The Torah elaborates on the specific location of 42 locations between the land of Egypt to the land of Israel for a reason. The mystical, the Kabbalah interpretations goes to say that it's not only the 42 locations, it's a 42 state of mind applied to individual in their emotional and spiritual life and a nation. Those names, places, represent challenges, represent ups and downs in life, not only as individuals, but also as a nation.
So they weren't all necessarily places where something good happened, right? There were a lot of places where there were challenges and difficulties.
Sure, and the whole idea of those names in Jewish faith, we not disregard the past. Quite the contrary. We go to those names and places to emphasize that those locations represent state of mind, represent something that we should remember and carry on. Especially at this time, it's always read at the time of the 3 weeks. The 3 weeks, it's between the fast of 17 of Tammuz to fast of Tisha B'Av, and both fasting days represent past challenges, past sadness.
We could say that we learn more from the challenges and from the crises that come about in our life than we do from the happy times, from the good times. Actually, the crises and the difficulties are opportunities for more spiritual growth, say, than the good times and the joyful occasions. Is that correct?
Yes, but if you take, for example, the proposal that came out recently from one of the world leading rabbi who said that we should annul those fasting days, I was thinking when I heard that of the history not only us as American but also our people in Israel. Can you imagine? The Israeli lost 23,000 soldiers since the beginning, since 1948. It's a very solemn day. In Americans' culture, which to me it's hard to understand, we lost since the beginning 2.5 million people. We lost more than 6,000 soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq. Yet, it's a barbecue, it's a time that people pull out the white shoes.
So you're talking about Memorial Day celebrations, the way we celebrate in the United States.
It's not only the idea of Memorial Day celebration, it's the idea that in Jewish faith, those fast days, those sad days, were not only past history of agony. Those fast days represent the future as well as the past. The future, in a sense, we learn from those tragedies, we learn from those loss. And yes, we are not going to repeat those mistakes.
Well, you know, it's interesting you bring up Memorial Day, and this really kind of sort of shows the difference between a secular society and a society grounded in God, a religious society, is that the way we celebrate Memorial Day in the United States with the barbecues and the fun and all the parties and everything. So many times in secular society, a secular person will have a horrible thing happen to him, a crisis, and they'll be told to stuff those feelings down inside, not to talk about it, forget about it, move on. Whereas in Judaism, what we say is, no, don't forget about it. Let's talk about it. Let's remember it. Let's try to learn from it. Correct?
In Jewish faith, we said that those mistakes hopefully will never repeat. Take, for example, the first temple. The first temple destroyed because of terrible worship of idols, terrible sins that people committed. But then they rectified it. 70 years later, they built a second one. the second temple destroyed because of the causeless hatred. So if you think about it, 2,000 years later, we still suffer from that issue, from causeless hatred. So we are aiming and praying that the prophecy of Zechariah, that at the end of the days, all these journeys, all these 42 journeys that the Torah speaks about, will be for good. In a sense, Zechariah promises that when we amend our ways, get along with each other, united, eventually we turn a time that those fast days will annul for days of celebrations.